Thank you for watching us on YouTube. But did you know that if you're on the go, you can get the full show as a podcast now? You can get our morning breakdown of the most important topics facing our country, news not being covered by the mainstream media, interviews with change-making progressives, and info on what you can actually do about all this. Search for The Damage Report on your favorite podcast app and subscribe so you know when new episodes are ready to go. The Trump administration's policy of family detentions and infant detentions, family separation, all of that does not exist on its own. It requires a network of incredibly expanding for-profit prisons, private facilities, and those in turn require financing. And that is where you can possibly get involved because some protests are coming up to help to destabilize that set of links. Joining us now to talk about this process, Nicole Regalado of Credo Mobile, digital organizer. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Very glad to have you here. So you've got two events coming up to protest JP Morgan Chase and Wells Fargo. Can you tell us about what those protests are going to look like?
Yes, absolutely. Lots of things going on today. Today is the National Day of Action for the Families Belong Together Corporate Accountability Code from across the country, who have come together to launch a massive campaign to put pressure on the big banks like Wells Fargo and JP Morgan Chase, who are financing and making huge profits from the for-profit prison corporations that are carrying out Trump's family separation and family incarceration agenda. Today in San Francisco, we have hundreds of activists that are heading down, knocking on the door of Wells Fargo headquarters right here in downtown. We're delivering more than 500,000 petition signatures to the bank, urging them to divest from the mass incarceration industry. And we've got folks in New York who are, as we speak, right in front of the JP Morgan Chase headquarters in Manhattan, urging JP Morgan Chase to do the same thing.
So how significant financially is this, both for the banks and for these for-profit facilities where people are being held? The financing links between them, is this significant amounts of money?
Absolutely. Wells Fargo has loaned the Corrections Corporation of America $80 million. It's a part of a syndicate of banks that have loaned, that have financed the debt of Geo Group, companies like Geo Group, Core Civic, in upwards in the amounts of over $700 million. And the banks are making huge profits from this. So, it is morally wrong for corporations to be profiting from the pain of immigrant communities who are being separated from their families and incarcerated in these corrupt detention facilities.
And I'm especially glad that you are drawing attention to the actions of these two massive banks, especially Wells Fargo. We talked recently on the show about their policy of they're now freezing people's accounts if they have questions about their citizenship, even though there's no legal requirement for that. And I think that a lot of people are becoming more awakened to the fact that these banks, JP Morgan and all that, they finance a lot of politicians that are doing some horrible things. But I'm not sure up until this point how aware people are of their links with industries like the for-profit prison facilities and all of that. So I'm glad that you're helping to shed some light on that.
Yeah, I think what's really been challenging for Credo and other immigrant rights groups who have been working to resist Donald Trump's anti-immigrant agenda is really breaking through the noise. There's so many attacks coming at us from every single angle. You mentioned, banks like Wells Fargo, banks like Bank of America, who are freezing people's accounts when they cannot provide proof of citizenship. That is not required to do business with a bank in this country. And right now we're focusing on putting pressure on the major financiers who are not only complicit in locking up immigrant families, but they're actually profiting from it. And that's wrong.
So we've been talking recently again about especially the policy of the family separation, the kids that remain separated from their families. My fear is that the media has, for the most part, moved on from this topic, and also that a lot of Americans appear to believe that we had all this big activism around it, there was a big pushback against the Trump administration, and hey, we won, we solved the situation. In your experience, to your knowledge, what is the actual situation both at the border and then this distributed network of facilities? Has this problem been solved?
Absolutely not. Donald Trump's regime is launching attack after attack to make sure that immigrants are criminalized and to keep them, to throw them behind bars and then also keep them there. We saw earlier this week, over the weekend, the Department of Health, the Department of Homeland Security introduced a regulation that would make it easier for the government to punish immigrants for using benefits like food assistance, housing assistance, Medicare, Medicaid. His zero tolerance policy gives the DOJ a mandate to criminally prosecute every undocumented immigrant. These are all the types of policy changes that are sanctioning horrific abuse at the border. And also, it's not just at the border. ICE is separating families right here in our communities. And if we care about, stopping the mass incarceration crisis in this country, we need to do everything we can to resist Trump's policies, to go after every single person and every single institution that is responsible for separating families, for locking them up. And that includes big banks like Wells Fargo and JP Morgan Chase.
Nicole, this is JR. I was just wondering, so you're having the protests outside of the banks and bringing more public pressures. We talked about, we had that when it came to the family separation in the first place. What is the plan for taking that from the protest to the legislation? Because that's a lot of times people think we won because we made them be quiet about it. How are we going to switch that to legislation? Is there a plan with the organization with that aspect?
Right. So the next steps of the campaign is we've sent a letter to Wells Fargo executives demanding that they meet with us to discuss their plan, their intention on how they intend to change their investment practices. And we have to remember that Wells Fargo knows that their reputation matters. They care about their reputation. They just went through a whole corporate rebranding, and their new slogan talks about their recommitment in 2018 to the people. So if they truly are a bank for the people, then what we're asking them is, keep that commitment. 2018 isn't over yet. They still have a chance to do the right thing and divest from the private prison industry.
Nicole Regalado, a digital organizer for Credo Mobile, thank you for both drawing attention to this issue and providing an opportunity for people to get involved. Hopefully many of them will.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for watching this clip from The Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.